I am so incredibly excited and really honored to be standing here today with all of you as we get to celebrate and really immortalize the remarkable career of Dr. Vivien Pinn. She is an extraordinary alumna of this School of Medicine. She is truly a trailblazer in our specialty of medicine, and she has been a tireless advocate for equity in healthcare. Now, as you're going to see as we share some information with all of you, Dr. Pinn's legacy is really one of, I would characterize it as breaking down barriers and creating new possibilities. So Dr. Pinn first made history as the only woman and African American to graduate from this School of Medicine in 1967. But that's just the beginning of her story, it truly is. So after she obtained her medical degree, she then completed her residency training and her postdoctoral research fellowship at MGH in pathology. After completing that, she then went on to Tufts University School of Medicine as an assistant professor, where she rose through the ranks and became tenured. But while she was at Tufts is when she really became, I would say, a leader in medical education. She served as the assistant dean for student affairs at Tufts. And while she was in this role is when she really focused on expanding the admissions of Black students, of other students of color, of women, and she then created initiatives and networks to mentor these students once they were accepted into the School of Medicine. So really her leadership in medical education and advocacy for diversity and gender equity in the field really did pave the way for so many others. Now in 1982, she pivoted just a little bit and she assumed the role as chair of the Department of Pathology at Howard University, becoming the first African American woman and only third woman in the United States to chair an academic department of pathology. So that was pretty incredible. And while she was at Howard, she continued to be incredibly engaged with mentoring other students, trainees, and junior faculty, and really developing the future leaders in medicine. Now, her next career transition was in 1991. And I would say that of her career, to me personally, this was the most interesting and probably one of the most important career transitions that she could have made. So she became the first full-time director of the Office of Research on Women's Health at the National Institutes of Health, the NIH. This is a big deal, and I'll tell you why. Now, in 1994, though, coupled with that, she also assumed the role as the Associate Director for Women's Health Research at the NIH, and she stayed in both of these roles until 2011 when she retired. Now, her tenure at the NIH, let me just tell you about her tenure, because I really truly believe that this was groundbreaking. And as a physician scientist myself, I can honestly tell you that the work she was involved in not only broke glass ceilings, but it brought attention to issues that were long overlooked. And she was really ensuring that research funding and clinical studies would reflect the diversity of the society that we live in. So one of her really big accomplishments was in 1993. So while she was director, this is when the NIH passed the Revitalization Act of 1993, and it was signed into law. And I still remember this as a junior trainee in faculty when this was passed, because what this did is it required that all clinical research funded by the NIH must include women and minorities. That's truly a big deal, and it has taken a long time until we just recently had yet another policy change on this. So I have to say that was monumental. Now, Dr. Pinn's leadership and advocacy really has been a powerful force in making medicine more inclusive, equitable, and just. And to recognize her efforts, the NIH established the annual Vivien W. Pinn Symposium in her honor and in recognition of National Women's Health Week. So this symposium just had its 8th year in May, and it really does stand as a symbol of her lasting impact on women's health. So thank you for that, Dr. Pinn. So beyond her professional achievements, what truly sets Dr. Pinn apart is just her incredible, unwavering dedication to mentorship. She has inspired countless physicians and scientists, and particularly women and those from underrepresented backgrounds, encouraging them to pursue careers in medicine and research. And her ability to guide and to uplift and to empower others has really left a lasting mark on the next generation of medical professionals. Now, Dr. Pinn has received just countless honors. So we would be here all night if I recounted all of her honors, but I do want to include some of the incredible highlights, which include 17 honorary degrees in science, medicine, and law. Okay? She has held prominent leadership positions, including serving as the 88th president of the National Medical Association. She was the first African-American woman inducted into modern healthcare's Hall of Fame and was awarded, oh, you're going to be clapping all night if you go with that, and was awarded the prestigious New York Academy of Medicine Medal for distinguished contributions in health policy. Now, recognizing her early work at Tufts that I mentioned in the education space in 2011, Tufts University School of Medicine recognized Dr. Pinn by dedicating their Office of Student Affairs in her honor, and, because we have a lot of alumni in this audience, and dedicated a scholarship in her name. Dr. Pinn's been recognized with the American Medical Association's Distinguished Service Award in 2020 for her unparalleled leadership in women's health, the Distinguished Service Award from the Association of Pathology Chairs in 2021, the American Medical Women's Association Elizabeth Blackwell Award, and the Outstanding Achievement in Public Health Award from Research America in 2022, underscoring her tireless advocacy and profound impact. Dr. Pinn is also a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and she is a member of the National Academy of Medicine. So I would say today, I know, I could keep going, Dr. Pinn, but today we are not only celebrating Dr. Pinn's many accomplishments, but we also commit ourselves to the ideals that she held dear: diversity, equity, an opportunity for all. So this portrait will serve as a beacon of inspiration for everyone who walks these hallways, and a reminder that Dr. Pinn's contributions and her journey has paved the way for so many future generations of leaders in medicine. Dr. Pinn, I don't want to get emotional. Your courage, your intellect, your dedication, and your compassion has really inspired all of us. I am really, truly in awe of the so many barriers that you have taken down. I really am. Your influence is going to be felt for many generations to come. So on behalf of the University of Virginia School of Medicine, we extend our deepest gratitude for your visionary leadership and your unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. It is truly fitting that your portrait will be hanging in our hall in this place where your incredible journey began as a medical student. So I am now going to turn it over to Barry Collins, our Executive Director of our Medical Alumni Association. And Barry is going to tell us a little bit more about Dr. Pinn's impact on our School of Medicine and how we have recognized her here as well. All right, Barry.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kibbe. It is, without a doubt, a great honor to stand before you today as we gather to unveil the portrait for truly one of our most distinguished figures at the university, Dr. Vivien Pinn. Her name is synonymous with perseverance, excellence, advocacy, particularly, as Dr. Kibbe mentioned, for women and those underrepresented in medicine. Dr. Pinn's career has been nothing short of extraordinary, as we heard. As we all know, she was the only African American in her graduating class and the only woman. A testament to the courage and determination that she had in medical school. That is a tribute to her. She has a handful of classmates that have joined us today as well, both in person, Dr. Nolan, Dr. Greer, as well as on the live stream. Her journey, however, did not end with that degree. It was just the beginning of a lifelong mission to improve the health and well-being of underserved communities. Dr. Pinn's work was instrumental in reshaping medical education and research, making the field more inclusive and equitable. She has had a lasting impact on her classmates, as I mentioned. And as Dr. Kibbe discussed in her remarks, Dr. Pinn received innumerable awards and honors. And I would, as Dr. Kibbe mentioned, I would like to just take a few minutes to talk about how we have recognized her, and especially the great participation that she's had with the university, with the School of Medicine since she graduated. The UVA Distinguished Alumna Award was established in 1991 to honor alumni whose contributions at the highest level in their field reflect the spirit and excellence and the ethic of service for which the University of Virginia education stands. Recipients of the Alumna Award join a select group of advocates, public servants, journalists, athletes, researchers, and innovators who have received this honor for over 25 years. Dr. Pinn was awarded this prestigious honor in 1992. The Walter Reed Distinguished Achievement Award recognizes professional accomplishments, outstanding innovation, and exemplary leadership in the field of medicine or science by an alumnus of the University of Virginia School of Medicine. The award was established in 1996 and is our highest alumni award. It was a great honor for me to take part of the presentation of this award to Dr. Pinn in 2007. And just a little side conversation on that award, it was my job to actually get Dr. Pinn to the award presentation, because at that time, they didn't tell the recipients that they were going to be awarded. And so and Dr. Pinn, as you all know, wants to know what is going on. And so I used the late Dr. Dan Moeller as an excuse to say that, who was the admissions dean that admitted Dr. Pinn. And I said, well, Dr. Moeller really wants to see you in the auditorium during the presentations. He wanted to talk with you. And I used that as leverage to get her in for that. And that was my work there. As part of our educational mission, we have an innovative learning communities approach which provides longitudinal support for our medical students. These 4 learning communities, we call them colleges, enable a social context for learning, facilitating a more consistent oversight of clinical performance and professional development. Each college is named for a prominent figure in the School of Medicine's history, and they're led by a dean who provides support and guidance for these students. And in 2010, it was a great honor for us to name one of these learning communities Pinn College. This learning community aims to cultivate well-rounded physicians who are not only skilled in medicine, but also committed to compassionate patient care and lifelong learning. For many years, Dr. Pinn attended the family day for our first-year medical students to have the opportunity to meet and have lunch with the students of Pinn College and their families. Today, Pinn College students complete phase 1 of the curriculum here in Charlottesville, and then they move to our regional campus in Fairfax. Our first cohort of clerkships began in 2021, and Dr. Pinn regularly participates in the events at Inova to meet each of the Pinn College students. Dr. Pinn's impact is also felt through the UVA Summer Medical Leadership Program, which is an intensive 6-week residential summer program for undergraduate students from underrepresented groups and disadvantaged backgrounds who are interested in pursuing careers in medicine. They're chosen from a pool of nationwide applicants, and Dr. Pinn has been a consistent participant in the program and has been our distinguished alumni speaker on many occasions. The Pinn Scholars Program at the University of Virginia School of Medicine is a prestigious initiative designed to recognize and support mid-career faculty members who demonstrate exceptional promise in their research endeavors. Named in honor of Dr. Pinn, the program provides funding and mentorship to foster innovative research projects. Pinn Scholars are selected on their demonstrated commitment to advancing biomedical science and their potential to make significant contributions in the field. The program aims to empower faculty by offering research that accelerate the impact of their research in medical science and patient care. Here at UVA, Dr. Pinn's legacy is indelibly marked by the naming of Pinn Hall, where we are today, which serves as a constant reminder of her influence and contribution to the university. Her efforts in advocating for women and those underrepresented in medicine extend well beyond UVA. As we reflect on her tremendous contributions and honors today, I encourage all of us to consider the ways in which Dr. Pinn's work has shaped not only in this institution, but the entire field of medicine. Her portrait will serve as a daily inspiration, reminding us of the courage, tenacity, and vision it takes to truly transform the world around us. I will echo Dr. Kibbe's comments and say, on behalf of the School of Medicine and the Medical Alumni Association, we are honored to present this to you today. Congratulations.
So, as we are getting close to unveiling the portrait, I want to take a moment to tell you just briefly how this portrait came to be and the incredible artistry behind it that you're going to be seeing in a few moments. So about a little over a year and a half ago, in early 2023, the Dean's Cabinet, which is literally all sitting right here, with also our EVP, Greg Kent, the Dean's Cabinet, we made the decision that we wanted to honor Dr. Pinn with an enduring portrait that would be proudly displayed in Pinn Hall because we realized one did not exist. So that was a little over a year and a half ago, and everyone here remembers the discussion that we had. So once we decided to do it, we then pulled Deb Hepp into this, who helped us to then basically scour and look at lots of different work from lots of different artists. We narrowed down the options, interviewed some artists, and then in August of 2023, we selected Jonathan Linton, who's sitting right next to Dr. Pinn. So his work, as we were reviewing his work including the portrait that he did of our former UVA president, John Castine, that now hangs in the rotunda, really reflected his incredible skill as an artist, but also it told us that he really understood what it meant to capture a legacy in art. And so this is why we chose him. So after selecting Jonathan, he immediately immersed himself into her history. I have a feeling we might hear a little bit about this, and her and Dr. Pinn's achievements, ensuring that the essence of who she is would be reflected on the canvas. Their first sitting took place in November of last year in his studio, where he then also captured her likeness through photos and from life reference drawings. Now, given that both Dr. Pinn and Jonathan live in Washington, D.C., it also allowed them to get to know each other on a little bit more of a personal level, which I think was just great and happenstance. That worked out nicely. Dr. Pinn has previewed an early draft of the work in April, but to this day has not seen the final portrait. No, get that hand away from there. So I would now like to invite Jonathan Linton, our artist, to the podium to share some words.
Thanks so much, Dean Kibbe. I appreciate the trust that she has in me by asking me to speak before the unveiling. I assume this means she didn't think I needed time afterwards to defend myself or explain anything, so thank you. I also wanted to thank the talented Deb Hepp. She was incredible to work with, and she did so much to make this event happen. I've always wanted to be an artist, except when I was young, I also wanted to be a doctor. My dad would take us on Sundays to the basement, and he would write our journals for us before we could write. So I have an entry that says I want to be an artist and a doctor. I'm not saying I chose artist because it's easier, but looking... thinking about retirement, right? How many people spend their time split between golf and painting? How many people decide to open a medical practice, right? So, probably was because it's easier. But Dr. Pinn doesn't spend her time doing golf or painting. She's still an influential leader in her retirement. Just amazing. So thank you, Dean Kibbe and Dr. Pinn, for doing the hard things. If it weren't for modern medical science, I imagine most of us in the room wouldn't be alive currently. So thank you. And the quality of life that we enjoy because of it. So 3 years, almost to the day, I was here at UVA working on the portrait of President Castine. And when I told him recently that I was doing the portrait for Dr. Pinn, he said, well, I count myself as one of her great admirers. He said, in fact, I still get people talking to me about the commencement address she gave nearly 20 years ago in 2005 at UVA, giving him compliments for what she said. Just amazing. One of the things that she said in that, I just wanted to read one of the parts of that commencement address. I've shared this with my children. I feel like it's something that's incredibly valuable. She said, I learned then and have confirmed as years go by that we can either dwell in the smallness of slights or difficulties, or rejoice in the larger meaning of life's experiences and build a positive, constructive, and worldly view of barriers we have faced and the satisfaction of having overcome them. Don't let difficulties make you small, a complaining spectator of life, but rather let a vision for your own life make you great, a vital participant of life. So that was near the beginning of my research, and I just fell in love with her after that. So how do you do a portrait of somebody like this? Dr. Pinn, somebody who's so influential, a respected pioneer in her field as well as in social aspects and issues. Now, a portrait can convey multiple layers of meaning. A photograph can be a wonderful documentation, but a painted portrait adds the value of the human touch. I believe that the care that is required to create a portrait carries through in its physical brushstrokes. A painting also allows you to communicate through these brushstrokes by employing various colors and textures and shapes. In meeting with Dr. Pinn, she radiates an optimistic magnetism. With who she is and what she's done, she could be intimidating. Instead, she is incredibly graceful and friendly. She is elegant and warm. She draws you in and makes you want to learn from her and follow her example. I tried to show her elegance and strength through her dynamic silhouette on a white background with subtle colored glazes around the perimeter representing her vivacity and warmth. There are additional elements to the painting that I hope come through when you see it. I asked her what she wanted the message to be for people who saw her portrait, and this is what she said. She said, break down barriers and achieve dreams. Don't let battles along the way get in the way of your end goal. When you have to, deal with them, but don't let people or situations distract you from your end goal. It is my hope that this painting can successfully convey this inspiring message. Thank you.
That was beautiful. All right, so it's that time, but before we unveil it, there's one more thing that I would like to convey to all of you. And it's something about the painting that you're about to see. So Dr. Pinn specifically chose to wear, and you're going to see this in the painting, the Liberty Eagle pin. And it's in the painting, as it's very important to her. So she communicated to us the following message about the meaning of the pin. May the eagle be an inspiration for you to keep your vision clear and your spirit soaring as you rise above the rush and pressure of everyday living. Okay, so you are going to see that in the painting. Hopefully, as Jonathan painted it. So I will say, the pin, much like the portrait, is a symbol of Dr. Pinn's enduring vision and strength, qualities that have defined her life and her contributions to this community. May this portrait serve as a lasting reminder to all of us of Dr. Pinn's spirit, her leadership, and the profound impact she continues to have. Barry, would you please escort Dr. Pinn? We're going to have Dr. Pinn watch as we unveil this. We will wait till she is.
My cane so I can stand with my third leg. Okay.
Yep, and grab her. Barry, are you going to grab her?
Okay.
Meg, you might want to, she's going to block you. You okay? Well, oh wait, do we like build up the, excitement?
Drum roll.
Do we want a drum roll? Wait, hold on. One, press on three. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my
You
God.
are
Thank you.
You're amazing. I love this. So just so you know, we're going to have Dr. Pinn make remarks. We will be hanging this, not upstairs on the level immediately outside, but it will be permanently hung one level higher in an incredibly busy intersection of Pinn Hall. It's already, if you go up one more level, right around from the stairs, there is a blue wall that already has the letters Pinn Hall and the plaque. So this will be hung tomorrow in its permanent and enduring location. Barry, can you, but Barry's gonna escort you. Oh, we're gonna take plenty of photos of you. Barry will escort you to the podium.
What can I say? That portrait is gorgeous. What I can say about the portrait artist is, it doesn't really look like me. It looks like I'd like to think I look. And that's even better. Jonathan, I don't know what you did or where you got it. I'm even a little slimmer in the portrait. I love that. He got my hair, he's got the, and I just think when he decided on the white background, that's great because it's black. It just helps me. I don't know what to say after all the comments. My gosh, Jonathan, that is just gorgeous. I have to thank Dean Kibbe and all of those on her board, and of course Deb, who worked tirelessly and was with us all the way, for one, even thinking of having the portrait done, and for secondly, actually commissioning the portrait. Jonathan was a wonderful selection. We really enjoyed working with Jonathan, and I'm just delighted at that portrait. I couldn't ask for anything better, and thank you so much for that. They're just, I almost feel like I sat through my funeral with all the remarks. There's not much left to say except she expired on whatever date it was. But I thank you for all of that. And there's so much I could say, so I have to thank Dean Kibbe and thank Barry, and I thank the portrait artist, and I have to thank UVA. You've heard a bit about being the only woman and the only black in the class, and that was at a time that UVA still was, well, Charlottesville was just beginning to integrate, so it was mostly segregated. That the university itself, except for graduate school and nursing, was all men. And there weren't many who looked like me here. And that first day that I arrived, I went to the back of the auditorium, and I looked around and I thought, well, the other women and the other blacks must be late for once I'm on time. And then the dean called the roll. And sitting in the back of that auditorium, I'm thinking, oh my God, there's nobody else that looks like me in this class. Am I gonna make it through? How am I gonna do this? This was amazing. I'm back in the segregated South because Lynchburg is my home, so, you know, I knew Virginia well, but. And then at the coffee break time at 10 o'clock, the dean said, okay, I want you guys to go to the lounge and have your cup of coffee and sort yourselves into a group of 4 for anatomy lab. So get your anatomy lab partners together and go. And I'm in the back thinking, I don't know anybody else in this class. The guys know each other. They're fraternity brothers. They went to the same schools. There's nobody else that looks like me. How am I going to get through this tough medical school academic curriculum with nobody like me? And I'm probably going to get the dregs of the lab partners. It'll just be those that couldn't connect with others. And as I'm starting down the back of the auditorium with my head down thinking, maybe I should just keep on out the front door. I mean, I didn't want to go into that lounge with all these white men and just me, and I don't know a soul to get coffee. Are you kidding? I was a little shyer then than I am now. And I'm thinking, should I just keep on down the steps and go out and get in my car and drive home and tell my father, I just can't do this. It's going to be tough enough trying to face the medical school curriculum, but being alone in this class. And as I was heading down the steps thinking maybe I should just go home, these two guys yelled out, "Vivien, you want to be our lab partner?" And I went, oh my goodness. And somebody said, "How did they know to call you Vivien?" I said, "I don't know what they call me. They may have said, 'Hey, you.'" But the important thing was that they said, "Do you want to be our lab partner?" And I, of course, said yes. So all of a sudden, I've got lab partners. And I've got friends that said, "Let's go for coffee." And then at lunchtime, they said, "Let's go to eat." And I had to tell Kenny later he didn't know he was part of the civil rights movement, because when some of the other classmen came back and they said, "Where did you eat?" I said, "I've been eating on the corner." And they said, "You can't eat over there. They're still segregated." I said, "No, they aren't now, because I've been eating over there." So Kenny didn't realize. So I have to acknowledge, unfortunately, one of those two guys, Rick Moore, whom I adored, is no longer with us. But after all these years, how many years has it been since the fall of 1963? 60 years. Dr. Kenneth Greer is here today. He was the one of the two that reached out to me, and I always thank Kenny. Because it really came to me. It came to me years later when I realized just how important, we talk about not just integrating, but belonging and getting people to belong. And I realized I had really experienced that with Kenny, because they reached out to me and I had someone to be with me. And people often ask, what was it like as the only woman, only minority? And I said, it really wasn't so bad, because my lab partners looked out for me. And Kenny, I know that you all did, and I didn't have as rough a time as some women did here or elsewhere. And several of my classmates, put your hands up, classmates from the class of 1967 are here. And Kenny, stand up. And so I have to acknowledge, I had a wonderful class. I didn't experience what I knew the lone women were in many other institutions. And I have to always speak out for Kenny, because really Kenny made the difference on that first day. And I often say, looking back years later, that Kenny, I thank you and I still thank you. I used to tell that story, and newspapers wanted to know who was it. I had to ask Kenny, was it all right if I used his name? Because it was him. He said it was okay. So Dr. Kenneth Greer, class of 1967, really saved my career, and that's why I think I'm still around today. So, but what? No, what I didn't realize was that I had two of the smartest guys in the class, and they were the Kenny and Rick, so I was really fortunate. But when I look back, when I first left UVA, it wasn't that easy. There were some rough times, which I try to ignore or forget or just not have to talk about. And I only talk about the good times, but it took me a while to really adjust to some of the things that I experienced here, and I tried to remember the good things. But when Dr. Moses Wood got to me to come back to start speaking at that summer program, and I've come every year for the last 20-some years for the summer program, I started seeing the students here, the faculty, and Dr. Richard Lindsay, who had been my chief resident, reached out to me, and I got to see people who were here and realized it was selfish of me not to reach out to the students who were here. And as I thought about it, everywhere I'd been, my UVA education had done me well. And I really owed UVA for giving me a firm, wonderful, excellent medical education, because I was able to stand up wherever I went against anyone educated anywhere else. And I realized I'd owed a debt of gratitude to UVA. So that's why you've seen me give you more time, spend more time, and do what I can to assist, because I'm truly grateful for what UVA provided for me. And actually, even that experience of being the only woman, the only minority in my class, has been great, because you've given me a few kudos. Maybe I don't deserve them. Maybe they'd go to Kenny and Don and the others in my class, but that's given me some signs of maybe some perseverance. But I have to thank UVA. I never would have dreamed of a building with my name, much less a portrait, especially one that makes me look that good, I'm telling you. But when I think back, my first trip to UVA hospital was in the 50s, when my grandfather was sick, and he was up at UVA in the hospital, and he was on what was then called the colored ward, which is on the ground level ward in the old hospital. Fortunately, that was gone by the time I got here. But I can remember he was in a room in a bed by the window, and the window looked out towards Jefferson Park Avenue. And I often wonder, what would he think if he could look out of that room today and see his name on this building? What a long way we have come. And as my cousin Earl was pointing out the other day, you know, I was born actually in Clays Mill, Virginia, now, which was on that little red dirt farm, and he was saying we have to think our family has come a long way since those days in Clays Mill, Virginia, and I'm grateful for all the experiences I've had all the way. There's one other person that I have to acknowledge, maybe two. Is Carl Hutchison here? Did Carl come? He didn't make it because he was going to bring the secretary who had at the school, who had taught with my father and mother. So, but then there's one other person that I must acknowledge. She was the first black female graduate of the University of Virginia Law School, and that is Elaine Jones, class of 1970. Where is Elaine? Stand up, Elaine, stand up. And you should know her name, not just because she finished UVA, but she went on to be president and CEO of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and stayed in that position for many years, the first woman to hold that position following our future Supreme Court Justice, and she has been memorialized for that. And I would take the rest of the time that I don't have to just talk about all Elaine has done, but she is a historic figure for UVA also. So I think at any occasion that she must also be acknowledged. And actually, I attended the dedication of her portrait. So if you go to the law school, you'll see a beautiful portrait of Elaine hanging on the walls there. So Elaine, thank you for what you've done for those in law, for people of color and women in law. And I just am so pleased that I can count you as a friend, not just through the UVA connections, but because you're a wonderful person. So Elaine, thank you. There's so many others I could acknowledge because there's so many special people here, but it would take the rest of the afternoon and we won't get to the reception. So forgive me for those of you I have not acknowledged in person. I am so pleased that so many of members of my family, I don't have immediate sisters or brothers, but I've got cousins galore. Cousins, put your hands up. I got cousins galore who are here, who've come in from far away and close to be with me today, and my cousins and my family have really seen me through. We are a close family, and I don't know what I'd do without the members of my family, and I try to be there for them, but they're always there for me, so I have to thank my family for being here. My classmates I've mentioned. There's even a woman who was in my dorm at Wellesley, Margot, that I haven't seen since we graduated in 1962, Margot Deck, who is here from Wellesley, and I could go on. So for those, I have neighbors, my next door neighbor, my neighbors across the street are here, but I spend the rest of the time calling names, so I won't go further, but just to say thank you, and all of that to bring me back to Dean Kibbe and your board. This is an honor that could never be excelled in my life. I thought the building was it, add the portrait in. I'm just in heaven today. As I said, it's like attending my funeral in person. But being able to walk out and say thank you. This has been a wonderful, wonderful occasion. You continue to have my dedication to UVA. You know that I continue to do all I can to speak out for UVA. And I don't think I realized how much UVA meant to me until there was that awful march on UVA. And when I sat by the TV, I don't think I left the TV for 2 days while that march was going on. And a few other UVA grads called me. And I realized I was in tears because they were attacking my alma mater. And I think that was the first time I really realized how much UVA meant to me, because I was taking every one of those slicks and strikes and remarks personally. So I really do feel honored by UVA. I'm pleased that, yeah, they took me in, and it was Dr., and how am I blanking on his name, that interviewed me, and I always figured if he had given me a bad interview, I never would have gotten into med school here. So unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but I've always thanked him, or in later years realized I need to thank him. And I think I've talked far too long than my 5 minutes, but you know I'm always late, and I always talk too long. And with that, I'm going to say thank you.